Senior Environmental Issues staff with us today. And we're looking forward to this briefing. And I should say Councilmember Glass is out of town representing the county at the National Association of Counties Convention. So I think we can start.
All right. Today we have two briefings, although they're both environmentally related. We have an update for the committee on the climate action planning. You may recall that we had a briefing a few months ago on this topic, and our Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, who's here and also in charge of climate policy for the county, indicated that the executive was interested in moving forward with a pretty inclusive planning process involving work groups and consultant support and things like that. And that is just starting to get underway. So we can hear a little bit more about that today. Also, I wanted to remind the committee that the council had approved some additional money in the operating budget to provide some of that assistance. So they do have money in FY20 for this effort, and we can hear more about that. And then the second briefing is on a variety of environmental protection issues, some of which you also were briefed on a few months ago, but there's new information and also some more timely topics that have come up since then that we'll hear from DEP about. So with that, why don't we start with Ms. Hochberg and her presentation on the climate planning.
Thank you, Keith. Good afternoon, council members and staff. I'm glad to be here this afternoon to provide you with an overview of Montgomery County's climate planning process, which is getting underway this month with the convening of 3 technical working groups. Before I delve into the presentation, I do want to take a minute to recognize the many departments that have been playing an integral part in our climate planning process, starting with Director Ortiz in the Department of Environmental Protection staff, as well as the leadership and staff from the Departments of Transportation, General Services, Permitting Services, and the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. And we've also begun engaging with the external agencies on this planning effort. And the climate planning approach has also been influenced by many conversations that we've had over the last several months with a number of different community members. Keith, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So I start with this graph of greenhouse gas emissions in Montgomery County. It shows us where we've been and where we want to go. We've made some progress since we've started tracking greenhouse gas emissions in the county in 2005. Since 2005, emissions have gone down by 14%, despite an 11% growth in population. But we still have a long ways to go if we want to be on track to meet our very ambitious greenhouse gas reduction goals. The county has a goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions 80% by the year 2027 and 100% by 2035. And you can see those dots out in the out years of the graph. To get a little bit in the weeds on this data, these points represent community-wide emissions. So these are emissions that were generated not just by county government operations, but by residents and businesses throughout Montgomery County. On the other hand, these emissions points do not include emissions that were generated from personal consumption activities like air travel that were taking place outside of our boundaries. Next slide, please. To achieve our very ambitious greenhouse gas reduction goals, we're going to need a roadmap to guide our work. We're going to need to prioritize actions that have the greatest impact on reducing emissions. We'll need to create an implementation plan for those actions. We're also going to need to understand both the funding implications as well as the co-benefits of taking action. And we'll need to identify the equity challenges and opportunities from undertaking this work. And that's what we want to achieve with our climate action planning process. Our climate action plan is going to include both adaptation and mitigation strategies. And I want to take a minute to talk about these two words because they mean different things in other contexts. Adaptation is about reducing our vulnerability to climate change. It's about restoring our natural landscapes and strengthening our infrastructure and built environment to cope with the impacts of climate change. It requires both anticipating as well as adjusting to new climate conditions like more frequent extreme rain events. And mitigation refers to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, such as by replacing fossil fuels with clean energy sources. The first step in our climate planning process is to convene 3 technical working groups on buildings, transportation, and clean energy. We selected these topics based on the sectors that are the largest sources of emissions as identified in our county's greenhouse gas inventory. Each of the working groups is going to include volunteer community members as well as department staff that have subject matter expertise. The work groups are going to meet approximately monthly starting this month through the end of the year. And the kickoff work group meeting is going to be taking place next Wednesday, July 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Silver Spring Civic Building. The event is going to be open to the public, and members of the public will be able to observe the technical working groups in session. We received over 100 resumes from well-qualified applicants to participate on the technical working groups. We're fortunate to have so many people in our county who care deeply about climate change and have the expertise and time available to help us.
Will that be all three work groups in the same kickoff meeting?
All three work groups will be participating in the same kickoff meeting.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
So what are we looking to get out of these working groups? They're going to help us do a number of things. They will review past county climate reports and plans, as well as best practices from other cities to achieve deep carbon reductions. They're going to recommend actions and innovative strategies that have a high potential to meet our goals in an equitable manner. They're also going to begin identifying implementation steps, as well as metrics and data and knowledge gaps that could benefit from additional technical analysis. In addition, the working group members can help us to ground truth and adjust these actions so that they can be implemented in a way that fits with our local context. Concurrent with the technical working groups, Director Stoddard of the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security is convening a climate adaptation staff working group. That work group is focused on collecting data that will help inform our future climate adaptation analysis. The initial data inventory is related to capturing data on changes to our built environment, changes to weather patterns, and the interplay between built environment and weather. The goal is to understand the impacts of climate change on Montgomery County, how the rate of the impacts is changing over time, in order to develop recommendations to more effectively reduce, respond to, and recover from those impacts. The county has also applied for technical assistance from the University of Maryland to help us get a better understanding of how social vulnerabilities in our communities may be exacerbated by climate change.
Which department there?
I don't have a specific department, and it will be graduate students from University of Maryland, but I can get back to you with a specific school.
Thank you.
Sure. In the fall, we will be launching 2 more work groups. One will be focused on climate adaptation and sequestration, building on the work of the staff work group. And a second work group will be focused on community engagement and education related to climate. We're still developing a specific scope of what these work groups will cover, and the call for volunteers to participate will go out later this summer. After the work groups have gathered and developed their recommendations, the next step will be the consultant technical analysis. County staff will draft the scope of work for technical analysis based on the data and knowledge gaps that are identified by the work groups. Potential scopes could include measurement and modeling of the greenhouse gas reduction impacts of recommended actions, implementation plan for specific actions, climate change predictions for the county, a vulnerability assessment, and climate adaptation and resiliency strategies. And finally, I'll end with an overview of our timeline. Between now and winter of 2020, the work groups will be convening and developing their recommendations. In winter of 2020, there will be an opportunity for the public to review the work group recommendations. And then between winter and summer of 2020, that's when the consultant technical analysis will be conducted. By fall 2020, we plan to issue a draft climate action plan and provide opportunities for the public to comment one more time. And finally, in December of 2020, we plan to finalize and issue the climate action plan. So in total, we're looking at an 18-month process. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. I'll jump in. So it's I think you answered most of the questions I have, but it's the fall when you haven't written the scope of work yet. That's the,
For the consultant technical analysis, that's correct.
Right, okay. And that'll be the fall when that's getting hammered out.
Yes, it will be hammered out probably late fall, once we have a better sense from the work groups as to what the gaps are.
Right, okay. So we'd like to be involved in that.
Sure.
And, yeah, just to clarify, because Mr. Levchenko had mentioned the consultant would be involved in convening some of the work groups, but the work groups are going to proceed a lot.
Well,
right?
we weren't sure exactly how this process is going to work. I think that when the council approved the dollars for the consultant support and whatever other costs there may be, we were still leaving it up to the executive to sort of map out how that was going to work.
Yeah.
So we're hearing that today. I think certainly we can have some more back and forth between now and when that scope of work is finalized, so we can make sure that the committee hears from, the results of the work groups and some back and forth, and can weigh in on what it thinks is important in that scope of work. And also any other issues that may come up that we haven't, predicted yet
Right.
that may arise.
No, I think that formulation you described makes a lot of sense, and that was my concern, is I think it makes sense to restrict the consultants' work to the technical assistance that we really can't do with our current county staff, not just to sort of call meetings and things that we do all the time quite well. So anyway, do you, how often do you envision them meeting, the work groups?
We've stated in the announcement that it would be approximately monthly, with the
Okay.
word approximately in there to give us a little bit of flexibility.
Sure.
Some groups may decide that they actually want to break out into subgroups, subcommittees, so we want to, leave them the flexibility to meet a little bit more frequently if they need to.
So if they meet throughout the fall, we're talking 3 to 5 meetings each?
Well,
you think,
yeah,
or
I would say
36?
roughly six plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Councilmember Reno?
Thanks. I'm still trying to understand this. So you're putting out a call for work group volunteers. The work groups will form. There will be a lot of ideas that they'll discuss, and then the consultants will do technical analysis of the work group's recommendations.
The consultants would do anything that the working group members were not able to do on their own. So if the working group members identified some critical data needs that we're not able to, using in-house staff resources and the community resources, we're not able to do our analysis and do that on our own, that would be something that would be left for the consultant technical analysis.
And the work groups, I'm assuming, will have county support to manage them and also to provide some background information and maybe not to the level of consultant support, but we'll be able to provide that in-house expertise. And so the gaps we're talking about would be beyond that, where our in-house folks, can't provide that information yet either.
All right, well, I don't know. I mean, I would have thought that you could proceed to do technical analysis already, that we already know what we need to study. I don't quite understand why we have to wait so long to begin to do the cost benefit. I think we're grappling with questions right now, like, are electric buses, the best next $1 million? We already had that conversation in the budget now. Like, why can't we get an answer to that right now? Why do we have to wait 1.5 years?
So we definitely don't want to wait 1.5 years, to start taking action. There are some things that we'll be able to get answers to earlier rather than later. In addition to the $400,000 that council allocated in the FY20 budget, there are also 2 separate climate grants. One is to the Association for Climate Change Officers, and the second one is to ICLEI, which is a technical assistance provider to local governments on climate. And they will be involved in assisting our work groups as they form, and they will be providing technical analysis, almost from the get-go to the work groups. So including things like cost-benefit analysis and looking at what other jurisdictions have done and providing that information to the work groups.
Okay, I guess I just don't totally understand why it feels like the technical work is an appendage of the work groups. And I sort of tend to look at it as the executive branch would drive the train, but involve the work groups to provide feedback. But it sounds like it doesn't seem clear that that's how this is going to work.
So we recognize that in our county, we have a tremendous amount of expertise related to climate change in our community residents, and we wanted to leverage and tap into that expertise, and it's available to us free of charge. And so that will allow us to really maximize our consultant dollars to the things that we really need to, find the answers to that we're not able to find the answers to, free of charge. So I think that, allows us to make the most wise use of our resources.
I understand that, but it also then will matter a great deal who's at the table. Last time you convened this meeting, it's my understanding that there wasn't a lot of very sharp focus on carbon reduction. People were talking about everything under the sun, but it wasn't really a very focused conversation about how are we going to achieve a reduction in our emissions. I think you're going to need to put some guidance to this group to ensure that that's the objective.
So we're working on that guidance right now. We have a series of guiding questions that we plan to ask at each of their meetings to make sure that at the end of this convening process, we get deliverables out of the working groups that we're expecting. So it's not just going to be kind of an open discussion forum.
Okay. And when was the call for volunteers to go out?
The call for volunteers
January.
Went out June 5th.
That went out June
It
5th.
goes June 30th, yes. We
And it's
received over
closed.
100 resumes.
And you received over 100
Yes.
resumes. So that is out. And you'll be inviting, how many people will be?
The numbers will be a little bit different depending on the working group. We anticipate that on average, each work group will probably have around 15 to 20 community members.
Okay. Well, if you pull together an amazing group of buildings experts, it sounds great. You'll drive through to get some real recommendations, transportation, clean energy. I mean, there's tremendous capability. If you just have a bunch of people sitting around the table talking about whatever they want to talk about, it's not going to get very far. So I will put my confidence in you to guide that process. But I want to say, the news that I heard about the last meeting was not that positive. So I'm not coming to this conversation with a tremendous amount of confidence that putting people around the table, at least the last group of people, and asking them what should we analyze technically is going to get us somewhere. So just want to plant that flag. We need some strong leadership from the department, from you, to put this thing in a direction.
Which meeting was that?
County executive convened a meeting with a group of activists, at which point we learned that the executive felt that, I wasn't there, but it was described that they didn't need technical analysis, contractual support, and there was a lot of talk about, as far as I heard back, various issues, but not a lot of talk about actually how we're going to reduce climate emissions. So. This was early on.
Was it a climate meeting?
Yeah, it was the executive's meeting of his climate. I don't know. It was like
I thought
pretty early on.
I may be thinking of. I know the exec convened a meeting of many different environmental advocates early on in the term.
Probably the same one I'm thinking of.
But I didn't. I wasn't there. It wasn't advertised to me as like a climate meeting, as much as a, sort of less formal environmental meeting, less focused one. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Sounds like no.
What I've laid out is our climate planning process
Yeah,
here.
This is a focused group as opposed to an environmental.
This is all just on climate. Yeah. I mean, I think the other one had the stormwater partners and many other folks in it, right? Frank's nodding. Okay. I just saw a photo on Facebook.
Okay.
And it was a big group of, folks that we see quite often.
Good clarification.
And we were really impressed with the resumes of the applicants that we received, and it's going to be a really good mix of people with both public sector as well as private sector experience. And these are people who have technical expertise in these different areas.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I agree. Always the need for strong facilitation and strong leadership and a focused agenda and all that. But I absolutely think, and that's why I asked the first question, less articulately, I think it makes absolute sense to unleash the creative and professional expertise that we have in this area, in this region, and get all the volunteer help we can to this massive challenge we have. I mean, I think the work groups are a good approach to doing that, and I do think you want to restrict our limited technical dollars and consultancy dollars to technical assistance that we can't do with the people we see all the time or the people that we can bring in as volunteers. So, I mean, to me, that's a smart approach. The one question I had that jumped out was these three areas make sense for sure as work groups. You've made a decision, it sounds like, to have a staff group meeting separately under Earl to deal with adaptation and resiliency, and you mentioned sequestration in a later thing as well.
Yes, and right now they're gathering that data internally because the data exists throughout various different departments. But then later in the fall, when we're ready to convene a community-focused climate adaptation group that will take advantage of this data gathering.
Oh, you will. You will
Yes.
have a work group on that as well,
Yes.
but just at a later
Just start a little bit
timeline.
later, yes.
Got it. Okay. I missed that part. Okay, good. Any other questions?
If that's it, we can move on to the general briefing on some DEP issues.
Yep.
Mr. Ortiz here, who can lead us through this, and he's actually got there's a separate slide presentation which I left for you there, and there's actually a few items in there that were not noted in my packet, but I think they're timely as well and make sense to bring up today. And also, any issues that the committee wants to take a deeper dive on, we have the fall to do that, and I know I believe that the council structurally is looking at ways for the committees to do more intense review of issues outside of the budget process, and certainly the fall is an ideal time to do that. So if items come up here that we don't have time to really dig as deep as you'd like to today, we can bring those back in the fall in whatever context you like, either whether it's a budget issue or just a broader policy issue, we can do that.
Okay.
So, Ms. Ortiz, why don't you start us through and see where we go.
All right. Great. Thank you, Mr. Levchenko. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Reamer. Good to see you both, and happy to have this opportunity to give you an update on the direction the department is going. Also, as we're loading up the presentation, I just want to express my gratitude to council staff and to Mr. Levchenko. You've been great partners on stuff, issues, legislative, community response, and also our preparation for today. So I'm very pleased that we're able to work so closely together. There's a lot of stuff we're working on, and what we put into the presentation were things that we got feedback was of interest to the committee, but of course we can talk about just about everything. But we've taken a lot of steps in the 6 months that I've been here. I wanted to start, Mr. Chairman, by highlighting the purple coneflower. I know that you're a big fan of native species based on our last presentation. So, yeah, it's coneflower season. They're in bloom, and so we put special care to make this the opening slide. Also, I was asking staff if we had a county flower, and we don't. So I just wanted to submit that to the committee, something to think about.
Launch a flurry of legislative activity.
Now we're about moving and shaking things up. But we are going to cover a few things. One, I want to talk about the agency reorganization. We talked informally the last time I was here about aligning the department to be a little bit more focused on the challenges facing us today. A lot of interest in the watershed program, particularly the DBM contract. I'll be providing an update on that. The transfer station earlier in the month, as you know, we had a terrible fatality, in June 13th. We'll be providing an update on that. And also a series of issues around the county landfill. Also, this was late breaking, but there's been some recent developments on the pesticide law, so I'll be talking about that a bit. So the reorganization is kind of a long time coming. The agency has shifted around throughout its history. But for us, and then early on in my tenure, I did a series of town halls and meetings with all the managers one-on-one. A lot of time with stakeholders to just get a sense of, where's the department? Where do we need to go? And a few themes came up. One was that there's a little bit of duplication of effort. There was silos within the department, but also with other departments as well. A sense that there was a lack of transparency with the department. Decisions were being made, and people didn't feel like they were brought along or had a chance for input. And that also it was maybe not as competitive as we could be with some of our sister counties. So taking that into consideration and then just trying to be strategic about the direction we want to go, we did a reorganization.
And then your own staff said you wanted to be more competitive? Sorry.
Well,
Can you elaborate?
some of the feedback from the public was that the county wasn't as competitive.
From the public, okay.
Right.
Got it.
So, some of that is true, some of that isn't entirely true, but still it's always good to take stock of where you are and how you could improve. So, working with the union and with the county executive's office, we established the following reorganization, which went into effect July 1st. We've established a communications and public engagement team. There's actually not a dedicated communications unit in the department. We think that's critically important, as you all know, to make sure that the public knows what we're doing, and also provide an opportunity for them to give us feedback. Also a position for a policy and legislative analyst that falls to the divisions, and the divisions are very capable, but they're very involved in operations. So having somebody who could be a dedicated liaison to the council and with the state to help move progressive legislation we felt was a priority. The watershed divisions had been split several years ago. There was the program side and the capital side. We brought them together. We just thought that made a lot of sense for internal efficiencies. We established a strategic services division, which is focused on performance management, auditing, and systems. So really pleased about that. We've also rebranded 2 divisions. So Stan Edwards, as you know, has headed the policy and compliance division, which is a little bit of a fuzzy name, when really the emerging issue of our time is energy and climate. So Stan's group has been rebranded the Climate, Energy, and Compliance Division, which we think really provides that sense of mission that was needed. Also the Solid Waste Division we felt was sorely out of date. We don't really like the idea of waste. We manage resources. So we rebranded that department the Recycling and Resource Management Division. And then finally, we've cobbled together a few smaller units into an Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. So that includes folks who work with the utilities. So we have dedicated water and sewer group, liaisons with WSSC, as you know, DC Water, and also public schools. So that unit is going to be under Steve Shofar, who I know all of you know. So this was all done with existing resources, some reclassifications of existing positions, but we think it's just a smarter way to organize the department. I put up a couple of org charts for those of us who are more visually oriented. We do have 4 divisions now. Those positions, for the new positions, they've been authorized. I've been signing off on new position descriptions, so those will be advertised soon. So anybody who's interested in a new job or know somebody who might want to compete for one of the positions, we encourage you to please keep an eye out.
Sure.
Which ones are those? Not that I'm looking.
Well, I think you're doing a great job, Mr. Weaver. I hate for you to leave.
Make sure I get hired.
So these are mostly where the new departments are. So the first one was the overall structure with the divisions and the renames. So this is sort of the support in the director's suite. So if you see in the bottom left, that's a communications and public engagement group. So 3 positions there. Policy and legislative will be 1 position. Intergovernmental is pretty much staffed out. That was a reorganization. Then strategic services, we have an acting interim person in that position heading that division, but that will also be advertised.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand. How many new positions versus reactivating existing positions versus redesignating existing positions and all that?
So these are vacancies that we put into, just moved around. So if you'll look in the communications and public engagement box, the left, those are all existing positions. Actually, several of them were kindly, generously donated by Stan because he had vacancies in his division. And we brainstormed and put them together here. So these are not new positions, but rather reclassified positions.
It's a good thing we give Stan some mission. I think he really,
sitting around. And what's the, can you explain more clearly for me, just the difference between slide 4 and 5? Because you have 4 divisions under you and Patty in 4, and then 5, you have Patty to the side in these offices, and 1 division, Vicky's division, sort of off to the far right. But it's the same organization.
That's right. So the fourth one is sort of the zoom out. So there were 3 principal divisions, now there's 4, including strategic services.
Right.
So that's more or less as it's looked with the new names of the division. So that's what that really highlights.
Including the 2 rebrands. Right.
Right. And then the next one is really mostly focused on the director's suite and sort of the central office, per se.
Beginning. Okay.
And so strategic services is a dotted line report to the director, and most of that communication will be about performance management and deliverables.
Okay.
Intergovernmental affairs, is that spending a lot of time with council? Is it state? Is it federal? What is that?
So it's mostly utilities. For example, 2 of us and Ms. Hochberg and Ms. Kassiri all sit on the DC Water Board, for example. A lot of time, a lot of committees. So that'll be some staff support for that. WSSC, a lot of interaction with them and a lot of feedback. So that group is also focused on that. Water and sewer plans, that involves coordination with WSSC and then the council, of course. And then,
It's not necessarily legislative,
that's right.
which is how we usually think of that title, at least around here. The intergovernmental affairs team is our legislative team. This is different because you have uniquely agency responsibilities.
That's right. That's accurate.
What about municipalities?
Municipalities mostly will fall under the public engagement group. So public engagement, all the stakeholder groups, and we know that there are many in the environmental world here in Montgomery, municipalities, civic associations, homeowners associations, churches, things like that.
Great. Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the watershed program.
You're going to share the postings with us, right?
Yes.
Just show the vacancies.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. This is great news.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Happy to poach any of your most able staff. Except for yours, Mr. Chairman.
Exactly.
Sure. So the permit, as I reported the last time I was here, we met our 2010 permit, which is a really big deal. Unfortunately, the folks who are really plugged in know that this happened, but Montgomery achieved something that no other jurisdiction has, and just the amount of deliverables that we have. We've been waiting for the new permit, as you know, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the meantime, the 2010 permit has been administratively extended, so we're still technically under that permit while we wait for the new one to come. So as I reported last time, and I've talked to staff a lot about this, is that we were expecting a draft permit on June 30th, which would give us the basic direction. We've given a lot of feedback to MDE about what we're looking for, what the status of our program, and how we think we can meet goals, and we were expected to get the draft permit back, which would have been available for public comment. June 30th came, and we heard from MDE that they weren't prepared to give us that draft. Their coordination with EPA was a little more complicated than they thought, because they have to get EPA's sign off before they issued the draft. So they've told us mid-November. So that wasn't entirely surprising, since nobody ever sticks to these time frames in the history of the Clean Water Act. But we were a little disappointed, because we know that there's a lot of interest in moving to the next level and also releasing, a series of projects that people are very invested in. Nonetheless, we still expect that we're told that November date is that they're confident in that November date. We'll see, but at that time, that will be the tentative draft permit that will be available for public comment. And then after that process runs its course, later in 2020, it would be finalized. A few details, and I mentioned this the last time I was before the committee, is we've received strong indication there will be some changes. In the previous permit, there was a big emphasis on acres. Acres, acres, acres. However you can treat an acre, that's the most important thing. That's still immeasurable, but it's a lower priority. Now we're focused more on nutrient capture and the capture of sediment, since sediment carries a lot of toxins and phosphorus. that's really the yardstick. Mr. Glass had a lot of questions about what that exactly meant. We can go into that if needed, but we haven't heard anything different. We heard that that's what we should expect to see in the draft.
And that's their
Permit.
statewide focus.
Yes.
Okay.
There were questions about the MEP, or the maximum extent practicable. And for folks who aren't familiar, sort of the load that a county takes on is sort of capped at this MEP standard. What is the most that you can do? It's a controversial subject, as you know, and the guidance that we've received is that it depends on three things principally. Physical capacity, so our operating capacity, how much staff do we have, how many contractors we have, how much work can we actually do. Second one is financial capacity, so what are the fees that we're charging for folks? Are there other sources of income that we can dedicate to the program? And then finally, what's in the pipeline and what's ongoing. So these are big projects, but also smaller and more boutique programs like Rainscapes or Tree Montgomery, for example. So that is how ours has been, and we expect our MEP will be determined. And the next MS4 permit, and there's a bunch of stuff, and I won't bore everybody with the details, save two. More of an emphasis on road salt, which is emerging as a really major issue. Reports from WSC show that the salinity of the reservoirs is spiking at a really alarming rate. Which obviously affects drinking water.
Really?
And is a pretty serious concern. So there's a work group that WSSC has convened. MDE, sensitive to this, has raised the profile of road salt management practices, not just with us, but throughout the region. And then finally, the last one.
Sorry, these are regional reservoirs or ones in Montgomery County?
So there are two reservoirs that WSSC manages that serve drinking water.
They're
for the
regional
service
because
area.
WSSC is regional.
Right. And since Montgomery isn't entirely downstream, we receive that drinking water. We also receive drinking water from the Potomac, but we also have inputs into that water. Notably, I'm always concerned about upstream issues as well. So Howard County is also in the mix because they're a big part of the drainage area, as is Anne Arundel, into the reservoirs.
I was just going to ask, have you been in contact with your peers in Howard and Anne Arundel about their road salt practices?
Yes. I was chair of the WSSC committee 2 years ago that proposed forming a working group for exactly this reason under General Manager Carla Reed. So they've been meeting on a technical level for about a year and a half now, and we expect a more formal report by the end of this year.
Do you have a sense of how their practice is different than ours?
I
Different
don't.
from ours?
I don't. And this is conversation among my environmental peers, but road salt is
Yeah, it needs to be a DOT conversation.
It's a DOT conversation, so they've been participating, but I don't have any notes to share with you at this time. But it's an emerging issue, and I flagged that for the committee. And then finally, the last bullet point on this slide, very notable, is coordination among county agencies, and that's no disrespect to our county agencies necessarily, but as time goes on, we learn that there are many barriers to moving restoration robustly, and sometimes it's a lack of coordination with utilities or lack of coordination with transportation departments. So that's something that we're going to be expected to report on more to MDE. The other stuff in there is pretty standard stuff, but I wanted to flag those two. So looking forward.
Sorry, can I ask also, you mentioned their MDE's conversations with EPA have taken longer and been more complicated than they originally anticipated. It's helped result in this delay. In what way, and what are EPA's interests in the MS4 permit? How have they changed?
I don't know, I might defer to Frank if you have something to add. But
Yeah, I don't think, we haven't gotten a lot of feedback from MDE on that issue. I mean, obviously EPA is concerned with impairments in the bay, particularly related to nitrogen, primarily. But we haven't got, all we know is they extended the timeframe.
Okay.
So I've had conversations, Mr. Chairman, with some of the statewide environmental groups if they had any intelligence. Their feedback was positive, but they said they weren't quite able to see into the black box. I expressed the concern, which I'm sure you share, about the Trump administration and the agenda of EPA nowadays and whether there's some attempt to slow things down. So far, it's just an unfounded conspiracy theory, but we know that there's always the possibility that the administration could look at water issues and more aggressively as they've taken on other issues. But talking with folks who know more than I do, who are involved with federal lobbying, they say that there's no basis for alarm.
Take them on in a way that punishes the states in the watershed more?
Oh,
in the absence of more federal funding?
That loosens the requirements for
Got it.
for clean water.
Okay.
So wait and see, and as we hear things, we'll keep you posted.
Thanks.
Sure. Sort of the last. So what do we do from here? We were dismayed with the delay to November, and really concerned about all the projects that have been held up. So we're going to announce, Mr. Chairman, that we're going to cancel the DBM that's been on the street. It's a little outdated at this point. The metrics don't align with the direction that things are going, and we feel we just need to get moving on these projects. So not only that, but looking forward, we really want Montgomery to be on the vanguard of restoration moving forward, and a key part of that is using data. We have a lot more data than we've ever had on the health of waters and the impacts that different projects have, so we're going to be using that data to really inform our project selection, which is not the way that decision making had been done previously, not just here but anywhere.
Terrific.
So we want to we want to be sophisticated in that way. Also, pleased to announce that we're going to reopen 3 suspended projects that are in our target watersheds that have a lot of investment from the community and the county council. So those 3 are the Glenmont Forest Green Street, the Grosvenor Stream Restoration, and the Old Farm Creek Stream Restoration Project. All 3 of these projects have received a lot of public investment and input. There's a lot of interest from this committee, but also from all members of the council. And I regularly get questions from stakeholders on these projects about, hey, what's happening? So really pleased to announce that we're going to move forward with those.
Great. Do you have more that'll be in the pipeline soon?
We're going to evaluate that when we get more guidance from MDE. These were ones that were clearly in the go category. The others didn't necessarily quite align, but also we're mindful that if we move to another aggregated contracting mechanism like a DBM in the future, the more projects that we have in that portfolio, the better, because we're able to benefit from economies of scale more. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to get a little bit more in the weeds of the other projects on that list. But these 3 were standouts that we felt couldn't wait any longer.
So do you feel like you are committed to an updated DBM, or that's still an open question?
I don't want to overpromise at this point. I'd say there's a lot of interest from staff and from the executive's office in using some type of DBM construct that benefits from the economies of scale, that provides innovation, but also looking for more engagement of local businesses, particularly small minority businesses that are in the region, with connections for workforce development and youth development.
On what timeline?
We're sort of hanging on that November deliverable from MDE, so I'm a little hesitant to provide a timeline. All I can say is that we're really hungry to get moving and put something out on the street.
Okay.
Keep you posted, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Also part of the mix, which I haven't mentioned yet, is the Conservation Corps. So as reported, administration of that program is moved over to us, and they'll be plugged into our future work as well, because we think it's important to make those intersectional connections. The last slide in this section is this is a draft map, our GIS people say, because they're still working on it. But I just wanted to give the committee and staff and any observers just a sense of where we're going. We really want to be data-driven. the red areas are our target watersheds, subwatersheds that are the most distressed, that provide the most opportunity for improvement, for investment. These are the waters that are in the biggest trouble, that we can make the most difference. So going forward, we'll have, in time, have an interactive map that people can look at their watersheds, they can look at the projects that we have there, they could look at the stream quality, and see why we're making decisions about putting what projects in what places.
The three that you're regrouping, they don't look like they're going to have the biggest impact on the red areas. Is that fair or not?
Two of them are in the orange.
They will? Two are in the orange areas.
And this is a draft map. So there's actually 3 different maps that we're using, but we can report on the justification.
Glenmont and Grosvenor. Okay.
Is that?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to move into the next part of our report. Tragically, on June 13th, a worker at one of our facilities was killed in an industrial accident. Gladys Lauren Melendres Fuentes was killed in the yard debris area. She was working behind a big pile of brush, and an operator of a front loader, which is like a bulldozer, didn't know she was behind there, and she was crushed to death. This was very devastating for the staff and for all of us. Many of us were on site that day, and staff members were involved in her rescue. So it was really shocking for us, and it was the first fatality in the history of the department. I'll provide an update on all the work going on to date, but just a little bit of background. Gladys worked for a subcontractor called EARN, which provides laborers to our facilities. They contract to the Maryland Environmental Service. And Maryland Environmental Service oversees many of the operations involved in the composting and organics stream, that our resource stream. And they were the ones operating the site that day, and Gladys was a subcontractor who had been there for a short period of time. There's a few different things. Before I talk about the investigation, I want to deal with the human part a little bit, about what we've done in reaction. That was one of the questions that Mr. Lipchenko had. So one of the things that we did right away was we met with the staff, particularly the ones who were affected. We had grief and emotional health counselors on site immediately to meet and interview with everybody. So we are providing those emotional support and mental health support to everybody impacted. We've also extended that to the whole department, because even if somebody works in a different division, it's quite possible that that an incident like this might trigger grief for somebody who might have dealt with that in the past. So we're very much dealing with that human element. We've also encouraged people that didn't want to use the resources we provided to use their own private health insurance to provide any support and care that they needed. On the investigation side, there's 2 principal investigations taking place. At this time, one is by MOSH, which is the Maryland Occupational Safety and Health, which is part under OSHA. So they've been to the site several times and have interviewed, and they'll be issuing a report, we think, in the next 3 months from their perspective. And also DEP has partnered with Risk Management, and we have Gary Stafford here from Risk Management. We're conducting an investigation also together. So we'll be looking at whether policies were followed and protocols were followed, and if there was adequate oversight of the facility that day. We've also been working with MES as they've been looking at their policies as well, and we'll continue to report on that. Some other steps that we've taken right away is that since there are many different participants in operating the facility, we've gathered us all together in a weekly safety and health working group. So I've mentioned MES, but also Covanta is on site because they operate the stream that goes to the incinerator at Dickerson, and the Northeast Waste Disposal Authority, which also has a piece, and we do a lot of contracting through them. Some of the things that we're discussing are roles and responsibilities, policies, as I mentioned, emergency procedures, communication among all the different entities, and site traffic and volume control. We don't think this was necessarily related, but it's something we've talked about, Mr. Reamer, is how that site has just become so overwhelmed over time. You know, it was built in the 90s for a certain function, and over time it's just grown. It's receiving more volume than anybody ever anticipated. So we want to be mindful of possible traffic and congestion concerns that relate to safety. So we'll continue to keep you posted as we get more reports, and it's just been a tough time for our department since June 13th. Sure. The next part, there's a lot going on at Goody Landfill. Goody operated for about 40 years off of Goody Road, and you know, this, unfortunately or fortunately, I know a lot about landfills. People, you know, they're out of sight, out of mind for most people. But because they are, doesn't mean that there's a lot of activity and a lot of resources that go into managing them even after they're closed. So, you know, Goody has been closed since 1982, but there's still significant regulatory mandates that we have in maintaining it, from groundwater to methane gas management, to soil erosion, and then good neighbor concerns. So those continue. They're very acute. And I'll go through you know, each of those because we're going to be spending a lot more time, money, and attention on it. So the first is methane management. So methane is, we know, is a major greenhouse gas, one of the most impactful, depending on your science and how you measure, between 20 and 60 times more potent than carbon. So it's critical that we manage it. In 2004, we set up 2 candlestick flares that safely burn off the methane that we collect from the landfill. The way that the system works is that there's an earthen cover over the landfill made out of clay, and then there's a series of pipes and basically a vacuum system that sucks the methane out, and today it's flared off at the candlesticks. For almost 2 decades, there was an electric generation plant co-located on site where we took that methane, converted it to energy. But in 2009, it became inefficient to operate. I'm sorry, in 2017, it became inefficient to operate because of the markets and also because of the quality of the methane, so that was shut down. Since then, it's only been the flares that have been our only way of disposing of the gas. The flares are old and they require maintenance. So we're doing a series of upgrades. We've completed a series of upgrades to them, and I can bore you with those details if you're interested. But why I put it in here today is that there have been concerns with the Montgomery County Coalition for the Homeless, who are also on site. So their offices are there directly across the parking lot from the flares, and then the men's shelter is to the left. You know, earlier on, when we were beginning these upgrades, there were complaints about vibrations and infrasound pollution. There were reports of people being ill and sick. So we partnered with our sister agencies, and the National Institute of Occupational Health and Safety came to the site and have conducted their own assessments of those impacts. They conducted them after we completed the new flares, and we're waiting their report, and that will give us a sense of whether we've addressed the issue or not. Although it's not our bailiwick necessarily, working with DGS and others, they've been relocated to another facility while we wait to see if the site gets a clean bill of health. Not totally our lane, but we wanted to share that with you because we know that staff and leadership and board members have been concerned about this issue and have brought it to the attention of council, and that we think, at least on the operations side, we've addressed the issue. But we'll wait to hear from our national partners to see if that's if we're good to go. Now, in the landfill itself, there's a lot more work to do. There's the methane system that I described is falling apart, woefully out of date, the collection system, and it's out of compliance with current laws on and regulations for landfill management. So we'll be putting a cap on it, a geomembrane cap. We'll be moving some of the material that is closest to the adjacent Durwood neighborhood and moving it into the middle of the landfill. And then we'll also be improving our stormwater management on the site. So we have a map up, and just to give you a little perspective, if anybody ever wants a tour, we're happy to provide one. So the entrance is on the bottom left. That's Goody Drive. The sort of paved area is where the flare station is and the decommissioned generator is. And in the very pointy corner is where the homeless, the coalition's office is and the men's shelter is.
Sorry, which one is the pointy corner?
I'm sorry.
It's the bottom right, right?
Left.
On the left. Bottom left, right.
And the rest of the expanse, the grassy expanse, is essentially the landfill. That's where trash is. Those little paths that you see. Oh, may I?
Yeah. Thought we had one of those. Just use the red button.
Got it. Okay.
So show us where the entrance is.
All right. So the main entrance is right here. The shelter is here, and then the offices are here. And then our flare is here, and it's you can see it's all very compressed. There's also a service entrance over here, but that's only for authorized vehicles. And this is the landfill. This is where the garbage is. The fence line is right here to the community, and the excavation is going to occur along this northwest boundary, and this material is going to be moved to the middle of the landfill. There'll be a new methane gas system installed. If you can't see it at this level of zoom, but many of the pipes are outside and exposed, which is not a good system where they're breaking down. So there's going to be a new methane system installed inside throughout the landfill, like a spider web. And
How do they do that?
by drilling, by excavating, by laying pipe. The pipe doesn't have to be too deep, and Willie, you can jump in anytime. It doesn't have to be too deep because the cap and then the vacuum tend to pull out the methane. And then the cap will be mostly over the elevated part here, and then under current plans, it'll be sucked over here and then flared here. We're going to try to have most of the truck traffic coming through this entrance to minimize the disturbance, but there will be some disturbance nonetheless. For many years, there have been many community meetings, reports. The early engineering and the early plan has been shared with the community, so they've been in the loop. And there's a mitigation plan also, because we know that this is not fun for anybody. So we're only going to work during daylight hours. We're going to do our best to control dust with tarps, spraying water and foam to the degree that's appropriate. We're going to monitors on site for wind speed and wind direction. We're going to control the speed of vehicles and also minimize vehicles. We're also any trash that's exposed will be covered the same day, so it won't be exposed overnight, and that's important for odor control. And it's kind of a mess of a project, but there's no way around it. Everything that we're doing is going to be the best management practices for an operation of this kind. We're at 60% design as of last week, and we'll be doubling back with council on revised budget figures for the next CIP.
Now there was a CIP amendment, and then it was held. Does that come to this committee, or does that go to the HHS?
You mean for the landfill project?
Yeah.
There's an existing project that was amended to the CIP a couple of years ago. It went through this committee as part of its CIP review.
Okay, so the CIP amendment that we got was for the relocation then of the men's shelter? Like,
Oh, no, that was the remediation work for the
Remediation.
cap that Mr. Ortiz was speaking to. That is actually in the CIP. There's a project already for that. What he's speaking to is we're in the design phase, And with 60% design, they're going to have updated cost information. We have a new CIP, a full CIP process next year. So unless there's additional work they need to do this year, which I haven't heard, they may not need an amendment this year, but they will need to update the project for next year.
Sorry, I thought there was an amendment that the executive branch had relating to the implications of all these issues for the men's shelter and so
All right,
forth.
that may be in the works, I don't know. There's nothing in the approved CIP for that. That would be,
It's an amendment.
that would be related to any relocation facilities needed or men's shelter related issues. I don't know where that stands. And that most likely would be the HHS committee, I'm guessing. Maybe the GO committee, depending on whether it has to do with inventory of county facilities. But yeah, what we're speaking to here is the environmental related work that's already in the CIP but has been progressing.
Keith, I think the legislation you're asking about is strictly related to this project, and it was to get approval
Oh,
to
you
design
mean-
a construction,
Oh, okay.
to enter construction.
Oh, you mean the special projects legislation?
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's
Okay.
what it is.
All right.
Something that came over and then it was held.
Yeah, every project that's over a certain threshold has to have special projects legislation approved before it can move into construction.
Okay.
And initially, the executive had sent over special projects legislation for this project, but based on the fact that they're now getting final design information and they expect some changes in the project from that, they've decided to hold off on asking for approval of that legislation. But that's more ministerial. There's no policy issues associated with that legislation. That's just a requirement going forward for any project over a certain amount.
Gotcha. Thanks. That was it. Thank you, Patty.
All right, sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay, so we expect to begin construction at the end of this fiscal year and complete it in fiscal '24. And then the last issue I wanted to update the committee on was the pesticides law.
Oh, can I jump in on the landfill?
Of course.
The excavation of waste from the northwest side to the center. What's the objection of doing that again?
That's for Willie.
I will, yeah. Feel free to come on up.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Can you push your,
Do that.
Oh, that one. Okay. So the site, the way it was constructed, it's a very tight property. The whole site is 162 acres. The footprint of the landfill itself is 140 acres, so there is not enough buffer. And the way the trash was placed in the landfill, in some portions, like the northwest corner that goes into the railway station, it goes all the way to the property line. So in order to construct, to do the remediations that we need to do at the landfill, we need to move that. There are very steep slopes that go right into the property line, and that's where we also have some of the gas contamination, high levels of gas, and groundwater contamination. So in order to construct the landfill and with the remediations that MDE is allow us in the consent order, we need to move that like 100 to 150 feet from the property line into the landfill. We need to excavate all that waste to create all the stormwater that we need on that side of the landfill, and create that buffer between the slopes of the landfill and the property line.
okay. So MDE came up with this plan as part of the consent decree?
Yes, well, yes, it was directed.
Okay, and then when you relocate all that waste, how do you get it under the existing cap? You have to open it up?
Well, what you do is you have some valleys that are in the middle of the landfill.
Right.
There are some valleys in there, and so what you do is you excavate at about 400 cubic yards of trash every day, which is manageable, and and relocate that on top of the landfill. You take the existing soil cap that is on top of the landfill and put trash, backing up with trash, basically, before you cap it again,
Okay, you take out the existing cap.
which is a soil cap.
Right.
It's only 2 feet of soil
Right.
on top of the landfill.
Right, okay.
Yes.
I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh, so NIASH comes in, they do the 2-day site visit. We're gonna get a report back in a few weeks. How'd the site visit go? What do you think the report's gonna be?
I don't think we have any inside.
Did they look happy?
I wasn't present that day, but they.
Standing in a landfill.
Smart man.
Yeah, I'm going to defer and.
Were they happy, Willie?
I was there at the,
Patty, what do they say?
well, they had, their technician, who was, they collected 109 samples of noise, and they did that with the flares operating. They turned the flares off, and then they started back up again. So they had a lot of data to look at. They interviewed 45 people, so they had a lot of good information.
45 staff or residents, neighbors?
No, 45 people that work
Uh-huh.
at MCCH and some of our staff.
Okay.
And, I'm not really sure how they got to 45. They did not interview the men at the shelter because they are an occupational safety organization, so
Right.
they don't have any standards
Not
related to
per-
residential. So at the closeout, they actually gave some somewhat detailed information, but in their 10-day letter, which I think you guys may have
It's in the
seen a
packet.
copy of, yeah, it was all processed.
Right.
So, but the data technician basically said that all of the levels that they took were well below occupational standards.
Okay. Thanks.
But they didn't put that in their 10-day report. So,
Sure.
but that was what he said.
Okay.
Did you look happy? He was happy. But I'm not sure I'm a good judge of that.
Right, okay. Sorry. That's helpful.
Yeah, and their 10-day letter is actually in the packet. And it did have a couple of recommendations in it, noting that, one, they recommended that when work is being done on the flaring system, that there be notification with the tenants. And also if, when work's being performed in the flares, and also the Coalition for the Homeless Folks, as well as Mobile Med, which sometimes has, some of their equipment there and staff there. But they did not explicitly mention or come to a conclusion about safety of the site or anything like that in this letter. So we're waiting on more detail.
Yep, okay.
And I'll just conclude the presentation with a quick update on the pesticide bill. You're both familiar with the pesticide bill. It was passed in 2015, challenged in 2017. The court ruled against the law. In May of this year, it was overturned, and just a couple of weeks ago, it was denied cert, so on appeal. So the law is in effect. It's, of course, middle of the growing season, and we're beginning to get geared up again. So our emphasis is on education in our enforcement activities. There's a lot of information that's already existing on the law and on healthy lawn care, on our blogs, on social media, and on the website, and we'll continue to push that out. Our focus is going to be with licensed applicators of pesticides. We know who they are, so they're a group of about 200 people, and that's 200 entities. So they're the ones that we're going to focus our outreach on. Retailers also have to provide education and signage on pesticides, and we're also going to be making sure that they're complying with that. So we're excited this bill is in effect. It was, it took a long time for it to come into effect. It's a real trailblazing policy, and it's something for the health and well-being of the county. So we're excited. We regret that we didn't have more time to prepare for the season in educating the public and retailers and applicators, but we're glad to be moving ahead at this point with what we have. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for my formal presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Just one, remind me, do you have like a resource page now for homeowners on the pesticide law? All that kind of stuff is up and ready. You were, I'm sure, ready for the outcome. And so if a homeowner hears that their law is in effect, very clean, simple information that they can get access to. And if one homeowner thinks their neighbor is using these chemicals, again, against the purposes of law, they can see information about that and so on.
Absolutely. Plenty of information. If people have any questions, they can call us or call 311.
And so homeowners with, who are now switching potentially away from pesticides that used to be allowed prior to the court decision, they can go to your website, which is, what's your URL?
Well, the best thing to do is just search pesticides Montgomery County government.
Okay.
That's what
Great.
we tell everybody rather than a URL.
And you'll find alternatives there or information on safe alternatives.
Yeah, there's safe alternatives, best practices, a lot of there's a lot of literature on organic lawn care that we provide and can refer people to.
Great, all available on your site. Okay. And then when they go into a retail store and they don't see the required signage, what should they do?
Call 311.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, like all laws, sometimes you grow into them. So we really need the participation from the public to let us know where people who are not in compliance, so we can get out there. So we look for that partnership.
You know who all the companies are, all the lawn care companies? You have all that information, and you're in dialogue with them. I'm sure you had to be in the run-up to before the challenge took place, but
Yes, we have a list of all the licensed applicators.
Right.
Anyway, and the trade association, which we'll work through.
right.
And we have we're in contact with them, and we'll certainly use those networks.
And people can call 311 anonymously?
Absolutely.
Right. Just wanted to get that on
Yes,
the record.
great point.
And that's exactly what they should do if they see, for example, restaurants that might be violating Mr. Reamer's great ban on styrofoam,
Polystyrene.
correct?
Yeah.
Polystyrene that was predated the state ban.
Like the one downstairs? Right.
Well, they're not long for this world. Okay, so that's a good tip for all the millions watching at home.
Well, and I'll just underline that the environment is a all hands on deck effort. We're the government. We do the best we can, but we're only the government. We need eyes and ears and hands on every corner of the county to help us out. So please reach out to us. Please forward our information on social media. Print it, share it with friends. If you print it, make sure you recycle it when you're done. But we definitely want everybody involved, whether it's you're in a school or a business or a civic association.
If you're a
big part of this.
communications professional looking for a job, you should apply to help you fill that role, right?
It's probably good timing that you created the communications and public
Exactly.
engagement unit.
You got a
'cause
big communication.
I think a tidal wave is about to
task in
hit.
front of you. Yeah, right.
Happy problems, though.
Right.
We're all
Yeah.
doing good things.
All right, very good.
Uh,
Mr. Lipchenko? Oh, Mr. Reamer?
I didn't have anything else. I was just checking my packet, and we covered the items I'd noted in the packet. So,
I just want to say great update. Thank you. Your experience shows, and your structures and your experience really shines. So thank you for having the team here today. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have some packets of purple coneflower seeds. If you or staff or anybody else in the room is interested.
And you shouldn't cut them. Let them hang around through the winter.
That's exactly right. And they'll reseed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so anybody else, please.
This is very helpful, thank you so much. The Parks Department was passing out some milkweed seeds that didn't take, so
Oh, really?
I'm optimistic about these ones. Okay, because they're good DEP seeds.
That's right.
All right.
Certified by DEP.
Absolutely, all right.
and we'll see when we want to do this next briefing. I mean, as you can see, there's a bunch of issues that are sort of moving their way along, so we'll try to time something in the fall.
Yep.
or if there's, as I mentioned earlier, a deeper dive you want to take in a particular subject area, staff will be meeting with council members across the committees on those issues. So we'll see how that works out, and we'll schedule what we need to in the fall.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr.
Everything
Chairman.
Mr. Reamer said is very true. Very much appreciate all your leadership and expertise. Thanks.
Thanks, like your partnership. Yeah, but Evan asked the tough questions, so we might have gotten off easy today. Appreciate it. Yeah, if you know good folks for the position.